गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद शतर शतश्वचल भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद शतर शतश्वचल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद शतर शतश्वचल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद शतर शतश्वचल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूप गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गोपाल शारद वृंद की जाय। नाम चैतन्य रस ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाश्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्यामा कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जू की जाय। श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जाय। क्षेत्र मंडल की जाय। श्री स्नान पूर्णिमा की जाय। जगन्नाथ स्नान यात्रा की जाय। श्री श्री मुकुंद दत्त की जाय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जाय। श्री श्रीधर पंडित की जाय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। धन्यवाद प्रणाम स्वरूप मंजरी दीदी, प्रद्युम्न प्रभु, Gargaraj ji, and Pradyumna Prabhu and Mantra Murti, Mantra Murti Mataji. Dhanyavad pranams. Great, you're back here, Pradyumna Prabhu. Hari Bol. Okay, gonna share my screen now. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratishe namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apittakrityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravobhinedu Stang Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Ridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai kshiptashtakama madhye Kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare Okay, so we read verses 31 to 42 yesterday. So let's see. The activities of the Precetās. Vidura asks Maitreya, what did the Precetās achieve by chanting the Rudra Gita? And the Precetās chant Rudra Gita and attain darshan of Vishnu. The Lord says to them, I am pleased by your friendly relationships. And then the Lord explains the results of remembering the Precetās and chanting the Rudra Gita. And benedictions: fame, famous son, suitable wife, full bodily strength, long life, and unadulterated bhakti. The qualities of devotees. And then the Precetās, the Lord explains the qualities of the devotees, and then the Precetās offer obeisances in prayer to the Lord, and then describe the qualities of the Lord. And describe the Lord's form and Archa Vigraha. They say your satisfaction is our only benediction. Seeking benediction from the unlimited Lord. Wait, I'm so spaced out today. We read 31. Okay, so let's read from here. 31. So, we are satisfied that your Lordship is the ultimate goal of our lives. We do not desire anything other than your satisfaction. The Lord asked the Precetās to pray for some benediction. And so then, we shall therefore pray for another benediction, because you are the unlimited supreme, beyond all transcendence, with endless opulences. Note, unlimited benediction. Because the Lord is unlimited, Ananta, the Precetās want to ask him a benediction that has no limit, namely the hearing of his unlimited pastimes, qualities, forms, and names. Link. So then the Lord might say, so then ask for many boons, as much as you want. But the Precetās would respond, no, we want only your lotus feet. In order to attain a taste of that sweetness, there is one boon we desire. What further boon may we ask of you? We have already taken shelter of your lotus feet. A bee that has approached a parijata tree does not have to leave it. And then the Precetās request benedictions. As long as we wander in this world because of our actions, contaminated by Maya, we want the association of devotees who discuss your pastimes, life after life. The Lord might have said, you said you were contaminated by Maya, and to conquer Maya, you pray for devotee association. Then why don't you just directly ask for liberation? Pure devotee association is the highest. Even a moment's association of a pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets, or even merging into the Brahman effulgence and complete liberation. This is a very important verse. We memorized this in our shloka group just, I think, last month. tulayama lavenapi na svargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashishaha. The four effects of hearing Krishna Katha. By hearing Krishna Katha, one feels no hankering, one has no envy, no fear, and Narayan is personally present. Your devotees wander and purify the holy place, even holy places. Thus they please those who are afraid of material existence. By a moment's association of Lord Shiva, we attained you, the expert physician, capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. Being ignorant, we do not know the process of pleasing you. You should be pleased with what we have done randomly. You should be pleased with what we have done randomly. All our spiritual assets, our Vedic studies, non-enviousness, austerities, etc., are offered for your satisfaction. Even great yogis and mystics cannot fully understand your glories, yet they offer prayers according to their capacities. And so do we. Conclusion. The Lord's various qualities. The Lord is equal. You are equal to everyone, never contaminated. You are the Supreme Person, transcendental, living everywhere and in a transcendental position. Okay. 1 second. I just need to plug in my computer. I'll be right back. Also, that way I can know if the power goes out. Okay. Is my mic still working? Yes. Dandavat pranams, Madhavi Didi. Yeah, I also saw some pictures of the New Braj Festival. It looks really nice. Okay, so we're on chapter 30, verse 43. And we're finishing the chapter today. 43. Okay. Dear Lord, you have no friends or enemies, therefore you are equal to everyone. You cannot be contaminated by sinful activities, and your transcendental form is always beyond the material creation. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead because you remain everywhere within all existence. You are constantly known as Vasudeva. We offer you respectful obeisances. Maitreya uvacha iti pracetobir abhishtuto hari Precetās taha sharanyavatsala anichatam yanam atripta chakshusham yayo swadhamana pavargavirya. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of surrendered souls, being thus addressed by the Precetās and worshipped by them, replied, May whatever you have prayed for be fulfilled. After saying this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose prowess is never defeated, left. The Precetās were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to their full satisfaction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word anapavargavirya is significant in this verse. The word ana means without, pavarga means the materialistic way of life, and virya means prowess. The prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead always contains 6 basic opulences, one of which is renunciation. Although the Precetās desired to see the Lord to their full satisfaction, the Lord left. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, This is an exhibition of his kindness to innumerable other devotees. Although he was being attracted by the Precetās, he left. This is an example of his renunciation. This renunciation was also exhibited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he stayed with Advaita Prabhu after taking sannyas. All the devotees wanted him to stay a few days longer, but Lord Chaitanya left without hesitation. The conclusion is that although the Supreme Lord has unlimited kindness for his devotees, he is not attached to anyone. He is equally kind to his innumerable devotees all over the creation. Ata niryaya salilat pracetasya udanvata viksha kupyan drumaishchanam gangang rodhum ivotrita. Thereafter, all the Precetās emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on the land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, the Precetās became very angry. Purport. King Pracetās left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. The sons, the Precetās, were ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come out of the water and go to the kingdom of their father in order to take care of that kingdom. However, when they came out, they saw that everything had been neglected due to the king's absence. They first observed that food grains were not being produced and that there were no agricultural activities. Indeed, the surface of the earth was practically covered by very tall trees. It seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. The Precetās became very angry when they saw the surface of the globe was covered in this way. They desired that the land be cleared for crops. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain, because we find rainfall over the sea. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting land for agricultural purposes. People can keep cows, and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottages. In this way, the economic problem of humanity can be solved. At the present moment, there are many vacant lands throughout the world, and if they are properly utilized, there will be no scarcity of food. As far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of yajna that attracts rain. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.14, Anar bhavanti bhutani parjanyarana sambhava yagyar bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. By performing sacrifice, man will have sufficient rainfall and crops. Tatogni maruto rajan amunchan mukhato rusha mahim nirvirudham kartum samvartaka ivatyaye. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Precetās also emitted fire and air from their mouths. Purport. In this verse, Vidura is addressed as Rajan, which means O King. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that a dhira never becomes angry because he is always situated in devotional service. Advanced devotees can control their senses. Therefore, a devotee can be addressed as a Rajan. A king controls and rules in various ways among citizens. Similarly, one who can control his senses is the king of his senses. He is a Swami or a Goswami. The Swamis and Goswamis are therefore sometimes addressed as Maharaj or king. Bhasma sat kriyamanang stang druman viksha pitamaha agata shamayam asa putran barhishmato nayai. After seeing that all the trees on the surface of the earth were being turned to ashes, Lord Brahma immediately came to the sons of King Pracetās and pacified them with words of logic. And remember, Barhishman and Pracetās is the same person. He's just two different names for the same person. Purport. Whenever there is some uncommon occurrence on any planet, Lord Brahma, being in charge of the whole universe, immediately comes to control the situation. Lord Brahma also came when Hiranyakashipu underwent severe penances and austerities and made the whole universe tremble. A responsible man in any establishment is always alert to keep peace and harmony within the establishment. Similarly, Lord Brahma is also allowed to keep peace and harmony within this universe. He consequently pacified the sons of King Barhishman with good logic. Tatra vashishtaye vriksha bhitaduhitaram tada ujahruste pracetobhya upadishta swayambhuva. The remaining trees, being very much afraid of the Precetās, immediately delivered their daughter at the advice of Lord Brahma. Purport. The daughter of the trees is referred to in text 13 of this chapter. This daughter was born of Kandu and Pramlocha. The society girl Pramlocha, after giving birth to the child, immediately left for the heavenly kingdom. While the child was crying, the kings of the moon took compassion upon her and saved her by putting his finger into her mouth. The child was cared for by the trees, and when she grew up, by the order of Lord Brahma, she was delivered to the Precetās as their wife. The name of the girl was Mārīṣa, as the next verse will explain. It was the predominating deity of the trees that delivered the daughter. In this connection, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada states, Vriksha tad adishtatri devata. The trees means the controlling deity of those. trees. In Vedic literatures, we find that there is a controlling deity of the water. Similarly, there is a controlling deity of the trees. The Precetās were engaged in burning all the trees to ashes, and they considered the trees their enemies. To pacify the Precetās, the predominating deity of the trees, under the advice of Lord Brahma, delivered the daughter Mārīṣa. Te cha brahmana adeshan Mārīṣam upaye mire yasya mahar avagyanar ajanyanjana yonija. Following the order of Lord Brahma, all the Precetās accepted the girl as their wife. From the womb of this girl, the son of Lord Brahma named Dakṣa took birth. Dakṣa had to take birth from the womb of Mārīṣa due to his disobeying and disrespecting Lord Mahadev, Shiva. Consequently, he had to give up his body twice. Purport. In this connection, the word Mahad Avagyanat is significant. King Dakṣa was the son of Lord Brahma. Therefore, in a previous birth, he was a Brahman. But because of his behaving like a non-Brahman, an Abrahman, by insulting or disrespecting Lord Mahadev, he had to take birth within the semen of a Kshatriya. That is to say, he became the son of the Precetās. Not only that, but because of his disrespecting Lord Shiva, he had to undergo the tribulation of taking birth within the womb of a woman. In the Dakṣa Yajna arena, he was once killed by Lord Shiva's servant, Virabhadra. Because that was not sufficient, he again took birth from the womb of Mārīṣa. At the end of Dakṣa Yajna, At the end of the Dakṣa Yajna and the disastrous incidents there, Dakṣa offered his prayer to Lord Shiva. Although he had to give up his body and take birth from the womb of a woman impregnated by the semen of a Kshatriya, he received all opulence by the grace of Lord Shiva. These are the subtle laws of material nature. Unfortunately, people in this modern age do not know how these laws are working. Having no knowledge of the entirety of the spirit soul and its transmigration, eternity. Having no knowledge of the eternity of the spirit soul and its transmigration, The population of the present age is in the greatest ignorance. Because of this, it is said in Bhagavatam 1.1.10, Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupadrutaha. The total population in this age of Kali Yuga is very bad, lazy, unfortunate, and disturbed by material conditions. Chakshushe tantare prapte praksarge kalavidrute yasa sarja praja ishta sa daksho daivachoditaha. His previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Dakṣa, inspired by the supreme will, created all the desired living entities in the Chakshusha Manvantar. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu Ratrem Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Jana. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Brahma's one day consists of 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. In that one day, there are 14 manvantars, and out of these manvantars, this Chakshusha Manvantar is the 6th. The various manus existing in one day of Lord Brahma are as follows: Swayambhuva, Sairojisa, Uttama, Tamasa, Raivata, Chakshusha, Vaivasvata, Savarni, Dakṣa Savarni, Brahma Savarni, Dharma Savarni, Rudra Savarni, Deva Savarni, and Indra Savarni. Thus there are 14 manus in one day of Brahma. In a year there are 5,040 manus. Brahma has to live for 100 years. Consequently, the total of manus appearing and disappearing during the life of one Brahma is 504,000. This is a calculation for one universe, and there are innumerable universes. All these manus come and go simply by the breathing process of Mahavishnu. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Yasaika nivashita kalam atavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagarandanata Vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vishesho govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. The word Jagadandanatha means Lord Brahma. There are innumerable Jagadandanatha Brahmas, and thus we can calculate the many manus. The present age is under the control of Vaivasvata Manu. Each Manu lives for 4,320,000 years, multiplied by 71. The present Manu has already lived for 4,320,000 years, multiplied by 28. All these long lifespans are ultimately ended by the laws of material nature. The controversy of the Dakṣa Yajna took place in the Swayambhuva Manvantar period. As a result, Dakṣa was punished by Lord Shiva, but by virtue of his prayers to Lord Shiva, he became eligible to regain his former opulence. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Dakṣa underwent severe penances up to the 5th Manvantar. Thus, at the beginning of the 6th Manvantar, known as the Chakshusha Manvantar, Dakṣa regained his former opulence by the blessings of Lord Shiva. Yojayamana sarvesham tejasvinam rucha swayopadatta dakshacha karmanam dakshama bhruvam tam praja sarga rakshayam anadirabhishitcha yuyuje nyangscha savai sarva prajapatin. After being born, Dakṣa, by the super excellence of his bodily luster, covered all others' bodily opulence. Because he was very expert in performing fruitive activity, he was called by the name Dakṣa, meaning the very expert. Lord Brahma therefore engaged Dakṣa in the work of generating living entities and maintaining them. In due course of time, Dakṣa also engaged other progenitors, in the process of generation and maintenance. Purport. Dakṣa became almost as powerful as Lord Brahma. Consequently, Lord Brahma engaged him in generating population. Dakṣa was very influential and opulent. In his own turn, Dakṣa engaged other Prajapatis headed by Mārīṣa. In this way, the population of the universe increased. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 13th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Activities of the Precetās. Now beginning chapter 31. And this is the last chapter of the 4th canto. What are we reading up to? Reading up to verse 9. Oops, I forgot to... Did I put the whole title here? Yes, I did. So now we're going to read, the Precetās renounce the kingdom and meet Nārada, and one achieves perfection by bhakti. Oops, I'm just going to add that here. God, I don't know what is wrong with my brain right now. Okay. Okay. Maitreya uvacha tata utpanna vijnana ashvadoksha jabhashitam smaranta atmaje bharyam visreja pravarangrihat. The great saint Maitreya continued. After that, the Precetās lived at home for thousands of years and developed perfect knowledge and spiritual consciousness. At last, they remembered the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and left home, putting their wife in charge of a perfect son. Purport. After the Precetās had finished their penances, they were blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord blessed them by telling them that after finishing their family life, they would return home back to Godhead in due course of time. After finishing their family life, which lasted thousands of years according to the calculations of the demigods, the Precetās decided to leave home, putting their wife in charge of a son named Dakṣa. This is the process of Vedic civilization. In the beginning of life, as a brahmachari, one has to undergo severe penances and austerities in order to be educated in spiritual values. The brahmachari, or student, is never allowed to mingle with women and learn from the beginning of life about sex enjoyment. The basic flaw in modern civilization, boys and girls are given freedom during school and college to enjoy sex life. Most of the children are varna sankar, meaning born undesirable fathers and mothers. Consequently, the whole world is in chaos. Actually, human civilization should be based on the Vedic principles. This means that in the beginning of life, boys and girls should undergo penances and austerities. When they are grown, they should get married, live for some time at home, and beget children. When the children are grown up, the man should leave home and search for Krishna consciousness. In this way, one can make one's life perfect by going home to the kingdom of God. Unless one practices penances and austerities in his student life, he cannot understand the existence of God. Without realizing Krishna, one cannot make his life perfect. The conclusion is that when the children are grown, the wife should be put in the children's charge. The husband may then leave home to develop Krishna consciousness. Everything depends on the development of mature knowledge. King Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the father of the Precetās, left home before the arrival of his sons, who were engaged in austerity within the water. As soon as the time is ripe, or as soon as one has developed perfect Krishna consciousness, he should leave home, even though all his duties may not be fulfilled. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was waiting for the arrival of his sons, but following the instructions of Nārada, as soon as his intelligence was properly developed, he simply left instructions for his ministers to impart to his sons. Thus, without waiting for their arrival, he left home. Giving up a comfortable home life is absolutely necessary for human beings, and is advised by Prahlad Maharaj. Hitvatvapatam grihmandakupam. To finish the materialistic way of life, one should leave his so-called comfortable home life, which is simply a means for killing the soul, atmapatam. The home is considered to be a dark well covered by grass, and if one falls within this well, he simply dies without anyone's caring. One should therefore not be too much attached to family life, for it will spoil one's development of Krishna consciousness. Dikshita brahmasatrena sarvabhutatma vedasa praticham dishi velayam siddho bhur yatra jajali. The Precetās went to the seashore in the west, where the great liberated sage Jajali was residing. After perfecting the spiritual knowledge by which one becomes equal toward all living entities, the Precetās became perfect in Krishna consciousness. The word Brahmasatra means cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Actually, both the Vedas and severe austerity are known as Brahmā. Vedas tattvam tapo Brahmā. Brahmā also means the absolute truth. One has to cultivate knowledge of the absolute truth by pursuing studies in the Vedas and undergoing severe austerities and penances. The Precetās properly executed this function and consequently became equal to all other living entities. As Bhagavad Gita 18:54 confirms, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mar bhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one actually becomes spiritually advanced, he does not see the difference between one living entity and another. This platform is attained by determination. When perfect knowledge is expanded, one ceases to see the outward covering of the living entity. He sees, rather, the spirit soul within the body. Thus he does not make distinctions between a human being and an animal, a learned Brahman and a Chandal. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva svapakecha pandita samadarshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog-eater, and a dog-eater outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5:18. A learned person sees everyone equally on a spiritual basis, and a learned person, a devotee, wants to see everyone developed in Krishna consciousness. The place where the Precetās were residing was perfect for executing spiritual activities, for it is indicated that the great sage Jajali attains mukti, liberation there. One desiring perfection or liberation should associate with a person who is already liberated. This is called sadhu sangha, associating with a perfect devotee. See, that's Srila Prabhupada's definition of sadhu sangha. I mean, that's how he explains what sadhu sangha is associating with a person who is already liberated. So sadhu sangha doesn't necessarily just mean, hanging out with devotee friends that are on your same level or below you. But no, it's referring to associating with pure devotees, perfect devotee. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to associate with devotees on our same level, but it means that the sadhu sangha that we're striving for. Real sadhu sangha means associating with the perfect devotee. Ta nirjita prano mano vacho drisho jitasanam shanta samana vigrahan pare male brahmaniyo jitatmana sura suredyo dadrishe Nārada. After practicing the yoga asana for mystic yoga, the Pracetās managed to control their life air, mind, words, and external vision. Thus, by the pranayama process, they were completely relieved of material attachment. By remaining perpendicular, they could concentrate their minds on the uppermost Brahman. While they were practicing this pranayama, the great sage Nārada, who is worshipped both by demons and by demigods, came to see them. In this verse, the words pare amale are significant. The realization of Brahman is explained in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The absolute truth is realized in three phases: impersonal effulgence, Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. In his prayers, Lord Shiva concentrated upon the personal features of Parabrahman, described in personal terms as Snigdha Pravrid Ghana Shamam. Bhagavatam 24:45. Following the instructions of Lord Shiva, the Precetās also concentrated their minds on the Shamasundar form of the Supreme Brahman. Although impersonal Brahman, Paramatma Brahman, and Brahman as a Supreme Person are all on the same transcendental platform, the personal feature of the Supreme Brahman is the ultimate goal and the last word in transcendence. The great sage Nārada travels everywhere. He goes to the demons and the demigods and is equally respected. He is consequently described herein as Sura Suredya, worshipped both by demons and by demigods. For Nārada Muni, the door of every house is open. Although there is perpetual animosity between the demons and demigods, Nārada Muni is welcomed everywhere. Nārada is considered one of the demigods, of course, and the word Devarshi means the saintly person among the demigods. But not even the demons envy Nārada Muni. Therefore, he is equally worshipped both by demons and by demigods. A perfect Vaishnava's position should be just like Nārada Muni's, completely independent and unbiased. Tam agatam tamuttaya pranipatya binandyatcha pujayitva yata desham sukasinam ata bruvan. As soon as the Precetās saw that the great sage Nārada had appeared, they immediately got up even from their asanas. As required, they immediately offered obeisances and worshipped him, and when they saw that Nārada Muni was properly seated, they began to ask him questions. Purport. It is significant that all the Precetās were engaged in practicing yoga to concentrate their minds on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pracetasa uchu swagatam te surarshedya dishtya no darshanam gataha tava chankramanam brahman abhyaya yatarave. All the Precetās began to address the great sage Nārada. O great sage, O Brahman, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought out by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Purport. Because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, as we understand that even in a great city like New York, People do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid, either in the city or in the village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Similarly, this material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment, but when one sees a devotee like Nārada, all fear is relieved. Just as the sun disperses darkness, the appearance of a great sage like Nārada disperses ignorance. When one meets Nārada or his representative, his spiritual master, one is freed from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. Yadadishtam Bhagavata Shivena Dakṣa Jena Cha Tad Griheshu Prasaktanam Prayasha Kshapitam Prabhu. O Master, may we inform you that because of our being overly attached to family affairs, we almost forgot the instructions we received from Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Purport. Remaining in family life is a kind of concession for sense enjoyment. One should know that sense enjoyment is not required, but one has to accept sense enjoyment inasmuch as one has to live. As confirmed in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1-10, Kamasya Nindriya Priti. One has to become a Goswami and control his senses. One should not simply use his senses for sense gratification. Rather, the senses should be employed just as much as required for maintaining body and soul together. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends Anasakta Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjita. One should not be attached to sense objects, but should accept sense enjoyment as much as required. Only as much as required, and no more. If one wishes to enjoy the senses more than required, he becomes attached to family life, which means bondage. All the Precetās admitted their fault in remaining in household life. Tana pradyotayadhyatma jnanam tatvarta darshanam enanjasa tarishyamo dusaram bhavasagaram. Dear Master, kindly enlighten us in transcendental knowledge, which may act as a torchlight by which we may cross the dark nescience of material existence. Purport. The Precetās requested Nārada to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Generally, when a common man meets a saintly person, he wishes to get some material benediction. However, the Precetās were not interested in material benefit, for they had enjoyed all this sufficiently. Nor did they want the fulfillment of their material desires. They were simply interested in crossing the ocean of nescience. Everyone should be interested in getting out of these material clutches. Everyone should approach a saintly person in order to be enlightened in this connection. One should not bother a saintly person to get blessings for material enjoyment. Generally, householders receive saintly persons to get their blessings, but their real aim is to become happy in the material world. Asking such material benedictions is not recommended in the Shastras. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Pracetasam Prishto Bhagavan Nārada Muni Bhagavatyuttama Shloka Avishtatma Brahmendripan. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, being thus petitioned by the Precetās, the supreme devotee Nārada, who is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, began to reply. Purport. In this verse, Bhagavan Nārada indicates that Nārada is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavatyuttama shloka avishtatma. Nārada has no other business than thinking of Krishna, talking of Krishna, and preaching about Krishna. Therefore, he is sometimes called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called Bhagavan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, Shakshad Dharitvena Samasta Shastra. In every Shastra, the spiritual master is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This does not mean that the spiritual master or saintly person like Nārada has actually become that he's actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is accepted in this way because he possesses the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart constantly. As described here, avishtatma, when one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called Bhagavan. Bhagavan possesses all opulence. If one possesses Bhagavan within his heart always, does he not automatically possess all opulence also? In that sense, a great devotee like Nārada can be called Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. One must possess either all opulences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagavan, who possesses all opulences. Nārada uvacha tad janma tani karmani tarayustan manovacha nrenamyena hi vishvatma sevyate haririshvara. The great sage Nārada said, when a living entity is born to engage in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller, his birth, all his fruitive activities, his lifespan, his mind, and his words are all factually perfect. Purport. In this verse, the word nirnam is very important. There are many other births besides human birth, but Nārada Muni is herein especially speaking of human birth. Among human beings, there are different types of men. Of these, those who are advanced those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness are called Aryans. Among Aryans, one who engages in the devotional service of the Lord is the most successful in life. The word nrinam indicates that lower animals are not expected to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. But in perfect human society, everyone should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. It does not matter whether one is born poor or rich, black or white. There may be so many material distinctions for one who takes birth in human society, but everyone should engage in the Lord's devotional service. At the present moment, civilized nations have given up God consciousness for economic development. They are actually no longer interested in advancing in God consciousness. Formerly, their forefathers were engaged in executing religious principles. Whether one is Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, or whatever, everyone has some religious institution. Real religion, however, means becoming God conscious. It is particularly mentioned herein that birth is successful if an interest in Krishna consciousness is taken. Activity is successful if it results in serving the Lord. Philosophical speculation or mental speculation is successful when engaged in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses are worth possessing when engaged in the service of the Lord. Actually, devotional service means engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. At the present moment, our senses are not purified. Therefore, our senses are engaged in the service of society, friendship, love, politics, sociology, and so on. However, when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, one attains bhakti, or devotional service. In the next verse, these matters will be more clearly explained. When one great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Lord, he said that all his desires were fulfilled. He said, "Today, everything is auspicious. Today, my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today, my senses, from my eyes down to my toes, are fortunate. Today, my life is successful because I have been able to see the lotus feet that are worshipped by the goddess of fortune." And that's our reading for today. Today, that's a beautiful verse. Today, everything is auspicious. Today, my birthplace and neighborhood are completely glorified. Today, my senses and eyes down to the toes are fortunate. Today, my life is successful because I've been able to see the lotus feet that are worshipped by the goddess of fortune. Wow. And tomorrow we will read we're nearly finished. We only have, I think, 7,000 words or something like that. Let's see. I just did this last night. Okay. So 5,293 plus Okay, so we have a bit more than 8,000 words left in bit more than 8,000 words left in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Oh, Rupa Manjari, yeah, I wonder where that verse is from also, I don't know. The one that's addressed to Mahaprabhu? Let's see. I'll check. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shala Gurudev Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shala Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Shala Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Shala Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sai Nitila Pravishtam Mahal Bhagavat Shala Gokshadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pravishta Shala Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shala Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Pata Dashagunath Char Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanantari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ju Ki Jai Shri Snan Purnima Ki Jai Snan Yatra Ki Jai Jagannath Devar Snan Yatra Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri sorry, my mind went blank. Shri Mukunda Datta Ki Jai Shri Sridhar Pandit Ki Jai Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. Also, Rup Manjari, I searched that verse and I couldn't find it. Like I searched some words from that verse and I only saw that one purport. So yeah, I don't know how to find it. Alright, Dandavat pranams, Haribo.